Assalamu alaikum, family. Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Sajdah channel, and we just going to chit chat today. I want to talk about this Breakfast Club drama, tell you a little bit about what's happening, some updates, and I want to talk about diversified income a little bit. Okay, so be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll be right back after these few short commercials.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties and after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Assalamu alaikum, family. Ramadan Mubarak. Peace be unto you, for those of you who don't know what that means. We are in day 20 of our fasting for Ramadan. And today we are doing our janazah services for Brother Rasul Muhammad at Mosque Mariam. You can tune in at noi.org. It's 11 a.m. Central Time. For those who want to see that. How's everybody doing? I know we added Thursday, and so a lot of y'all are like, what? Wait, I just got a couple texts from people going, wait, what? Yeah. But you can always re-listen, if you want. It's cool. Couple things. I just wanted to come out here and chat with you all. It's doing its usual morning thing over here. Don't ask me why it's doing that. We had some bad storms over here in Chicago last night. It actually started, let's see, I was on the podcast 99 The One yesterday at 5 p.m. Central Time. You got to search for that and check that out. It was a phenomenal discussion. It's a show hosted by Mosque number 45, Brother Imam, student Imam Abdul Alim Ansari, and Sister Sajdah Muhammad, Sajdah Evangelista Kareem Muhammad. And they just go over the 99 attributes of Allah, and they invite guests on, and they give us attributes to review. And so it was a lot of fun. It was so powerful. But the storm started right around that time. So literally, it was dark when I logged on to do 99 The One. And it's you can go on Facebook. That's where you can get it. Go to Facebook. You can check it out. And it's also on YouTube, 99 The One. And you should check it out. It comes on every day at 5 p.m. Central Time during Ramadan. But it was dark outside. And so I was teasing Brother Imam. I'm like, wait a minute. I said, if it's dark outside, can we drink something? But no, I didn't. But it was, so the storm started right around then and went pretty much all night. And we got a little dusty snow. So we went from summertime, day before yesterday, in the 70s to like 29. Today, I think it's going to be in the 30s. I really, really think that this is a recipe for some really bad spring storms. And I just pray that, everybody is safe, because all this hot and cold mix with all the moisture in the air is bad. So, yeah, so we've been having these storms, and I know throughout the night it was thundering, and it was like a thunder snowstorm, right? Strange. But anyway, so instead of raining, it was snowing, and it was also lightning and thundering, or thundering and lightning. And the internet was going in and out. So hopefully we hang in there today. I know it's a little unstable this morning, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, I did want to talk about 99 The One so that you could go out and check it out. I was on the discussion. I think we had a great time. I think it was really good. And inshallah, it's helpful for some people. I really, really, really enjoyed it. I I was thinking this week because I'm dealing with a couple of clients who are going through some funding scares. I have one client that does like a reentry program, and they have a big federal grant. They have some state money too, which I believe is safe, but they've got some federal money that they're concerned about. And then I have another client that is totally federally funded. It's construction, but it's something I won't say too much because I don't want to give them away, and they're concerned. And I wanted to share the advice that I've been giving to them that I've always given, but sometimes people listen, sometimes they don't, sometimes they just feel like I don't really got to worry about that. It's up to you. I just share what I see and what I know. And sometimes for someone like myself, those of us who have been deeply entrenched in the corporate world, who've done work in the federal government, in the government on a federal level and state and local level as well, sometimes you can see the handwriting on the wall. So a lot of times when I see Doge come out and they say, certain things like the age test that they were doing for people on Medicare. I know what test that is that they do on the system. And a lot of times when you do a test like that, if it hasn't been being done on a long-term basis or regularly, then you're going to have some things that pop out, and maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but I can just about tell you what tests they're doing and how they're doing it. 9 times out of 10, there's a consulting team in there that is doing this. So these people that are on the Doge team probably work for a consulting firm, or they probably are from a big consulting firm. So they're running certain tests and giving certain data. And what we're trained to do is to look at patterns. And there's some patterns that I started seeing, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, that sometimes when I start seeing those patterns, if you're my client, I'll say to you, hey, I'm seeing this pattern. And so start thinking about how you want to do things. And so this pattern with federal and grant funding, I've been seeing it for about 5 or 6 years. And I know for us, a lot of times as Black people, we have a tendency not to plan, but to just react. And we have a tendency to not know how to utilize, say, consultants like myself and understand how to use the information. You may not necessarily want to take it as the gospel truth, but maybe you want to say, let me see how I can weave this into how I do things. But what happens with us is that we think that folks are hating on us, or we automatically think that something is wrong with the person who gives us advice that's contrary to what we're doing. It's just this weird thing that we got. It's rooted in the amateur way that we are moving, because we just don't have that much experience. We haven't been in and out of a lot of these big companies and big organizations to see how they work. We don't recognize the patterns, and we just don't know. And oftentimes we're still at that competitive level as opposed to being at that collaborative level. And so that impacts people a lot. And I certainly understand that. I completely understand that. And I don't hold it against anyone. But one of the things that I've been seeing is when you start to see them trying to work on the deficit, and we haven't had certain things happen that bring revenue into the system, if you will, normally what they'll do is they'll go after certain federal funding. And we have a tendency, because we have a lot more, somehow, some of us have a lot more confidence in, you know, government grants, federal funding, and things like that, that maybe we should. Um, it's great if you can get it, if you can get you a grant and get in there and get your business rolling, your project done, service your clients. By all means, if that's part of how you want to do how your business model is set up, jump in there and do it. It's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just make sure that you're diversifying your business model. Sit down with a business person, a consultant, or somebody that can help you figure out how to create these different revenue streams. Okay. And even if you have a stream that you create that's small, it could be small today, but you should be growing it while you are getting the revenue from these or the influx from the federal grants and things like that. So I was talking to a potential client the other day that runs a restaurant. We were talking about different revenue streams that she could set up with her business. And she's got a pretty popular brand. And I said, look, think about retail. And she said, oh, it's just not, it takes a lot and I don't feel like managing it. And it's not that much money. And I said, well, how much money were you making from it? She said, somewhere a couple $100s a week. And I said, okay. I said, let's say you're making $250 a week from it. That's $1,000 a month. I said, that's a bill or an employee's salary that retail can pay. So just because it's not as big as, say, the $1 million that you may have gotten from your, restaurant association grant, or your FDA funding because of some of the other stuff that you're doing, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So I want to encourage us to sit down with somebody and come up with several streams of income. And what we can do is we can figure out how you can bring in revenue, how you can start building these other pipelines. And a lot of times they may start small, even as an individual. Okay. If you got a small piece of your business that, brings in $500 a month, you may say, that ain't nothing. It ain't worth it, but it could pay a couple cell phone bills. It could be a bonus for an employee, anything like that. And so part of the science of business is understanding how to identify the intangible things that either cost you money or can bring in money. A lot of times we just look at cash, hardcore cash flow. But things like delays on your project actually are costing you money. And if you're my client, I can show you how it's costing you money. If it's bad employees or employee turnover, you may feel like you're playing the game where you don't have to pay anymore when these employees turn over. But in actuality, it's costing you money. It's just intangible at first and upfront. And even hits that your brand takes. One of the things I learned as a consultant is to be very, very sensitive about how your brand is presented, how you are presented. So you want to be very, very mindful of that kind of thing. So anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That's a show, a whole nother show. But what I did want to say to us is begin to think about multiple income streams. When the economy starts to get rocky like this, you want to have different things that you can turn to make money. You want to have something that you can fall back on. Okay. And so depending on what type of business you're in and what industry you're in, we can help you to figure out how you can get your brand out there and how you can create those additional pipelines. One of the things that I do that has been a blessing for me that I've always done is I keep working on several pipelines. And there's relationships that are pipeline driven. There is revenue streams that are pipeline driven. And so I'm working those pipelines. And I've had some pipelines that have gone on to really, really be lucrative and turn into really great businesses, and other pipelines that didn't. And then some pipelines that just kind of stayed steady. So you want to figure that out in whatever business that you're running, whether it's a clinic, if it's a social services organization. There are always byproducts and other things that you can start doing, even as an individual. So if you're working as a nurse, there's probably something that you have a depth of knowledge in that we can figure out how to pull out and set up some consulting for you or something like that. So I don't want you getting overly emotional, even, and I know this is easier said than done, over some of the scares with federal funding, because here's what is going to happen. Since the federal government is cutting a lot of funding, you're going to have more competition at the state and local level for funding, whereas before it may have been a grant that you got relatively easily, and you just kind of got it because you knew the person that was there. There's going to be more competition for that. There's going to be more competition for foundation funding, okay? Because on the federal level, like I said, they're cutting a lot of funding, and then or almost all funding. And this happened back during the Clinton administration. I was reading a study on this the other day. Y'all know I'm a researcher and studier. I was studying this the other night, that during the Clinton administration, it was obviously there was no internet, right? There was no Twitter or X, and there was not as many 24-hour news outlets. There wasn't a lot of blogging. So you didn't hear as much about it. But it was during that era where a lot of your recs and recreation funding got cut. And you saw a lot of the clubs, the after-school programs getting cut. There was a lot of housing programs that got cut. That was during the era where they started to demolish a lot of the public housing buildings and things like that. And the economy adjusted. I don't know if the haircut was this low during that time. And I don't know if it happened as quickly, but this has happened before. It's just that now the things are happening in a much more a much less humane way, I would say. But I want you all, everybody, to start thinking about diversifying your income and your revenue stream, because there's going to be a run on and a demand for any funding, especially because at the top, they're cutting funding. So since they're cutting it at the top, that pushes everybody down, right? To the state level, to the local level, and then to the pedestrian level, if you will, the foundational level, and things like that. So it's time to be diversified. I would encourage you, if you have discretionary income, if you are an entertainer, an athlete, a business person with a significant amount of discretionary income, I would encourage you to start giving some scholarships away, doing some business grants. You can become the foundation and the organization that goes out and helps other people. It's going to impact our churches. It's going to have an impact. I think it'll be interesting to see how it even plays out with our Black economy when it comes to our spending. I know it's going to impact the real estate prices and things like that in Prince George's County and around in the DMV area, because the majority of our wealth, when it's measured that say DMV is the wealthiest area, is because of the number of people with federal jobs and military jobs. And so when a lot of that stuff gets cut, it's going to be impactful. I encourage us to really start to study entrepreneurship, and I mean study it for real, not just I'm a hustler, not just I can get what I can get and I'm cold with it and none of that. Really study it, because what's going to happen is that you're going to have a lot more people coming into business. The Black professional is being radicalized because people are losing jobs unfairly. And a lot of these people are smart and they can go into the business world. And so this is a time for us to all begin to study and be strategic. Be strategic. And your girls here, just go to book.sajdahwendymuhammad.com. I'm a strategist. I'm a crisis manager. I've built almost $1 billion worth of businesses throughout my corporate career, and then adding on what I've done for myself. I was just a machine in the consulting world. And so that blessed me and gave me, excuse me, certain what I call professional intuition. And I help people at basement prices, be honest with you. But, you know, the payment has to be there, right? We all got to survive. So be ready, you know, to pay, learn how to barter. We just have to be creative, and we got to be a lot smarter. We got to be more strategic. But the real thing that you need to really, really make sure is important that you put on your list is somebody on your team, somebody like myself that can help you with doing risk assessments, that has you in their radar, and they can begin to help you see what they can see, because you either don't have time, you don't have the bandwidth, or you don't know the patterns that they can recognize. And when we've been doing this for a long time, we can see patterns. Okay. So that's that. I just wanted to say that. You know, everybody's been talking about all this stuff that's going on with the Breakfast Club. Y'all been keeping up with that? Again, putting my corporate consulting hat on, me and my my Olivia Pope hat. It's so funny because when Scandal came out, everybody was calling me like, "You guys see this? This is you, girl." Except I don't date white men, and I would not have dated the married president. But Breakfast Club. So for those of you who don't know, you know, they had Angela Yee left, and she got her own show. And so they started doing all these auditions for a third co-host of the show with Charlamagne and DJ Envy. And I think probably the top two people that were in the running was Claudia Jordan and Jess Hilarious. And Jess Hilarious ended up getting the job, probably because she had such a huge social media following. And then shortly thereafter, Jess got pregnant. And then Jess went out on maternity leave. Before she went out on maternity leave, she picked a person to fill in for her, Lauren LaRosa. Lauren came up. She had just finished working at TMZ. She came up to the show. She filled in for Jess. And then when Jess came back, Jess had a segment that she used to do on social media, or I think she still does it, called Jess with the Mess. And Lauren would do that segment while Jess was gone. And when Jess came back, Lauren was still doing Jess with the Mess, even though Jess with the Mess is sitting right there. So, you know, it caused a little drama. And then Jess went off on social media, I think it was this weekend, And then they had this big kind of blow up show yesterday. Some people was like, oh, this is fake. I don't know, whatever. But I do want to say something. I think Jess is hilarious. And I like Lauren too. I don't know her personality that well. I never would see her, but you could just scroll on social media, especially during the pandemic, and you would Jess. She's hilarious. I wish she was my coaching client. I really wish she was my coaching client, because I would say this to Jess. You got the job. You got it temporarily. If they want to let you go, it boosts you. Let them let it just go. Here's why I say that. When I saw Jess up there interviewing for the job, and it was like between her and Claudia, I thought that Claudia was more suited because I felt like Claudia could fit into the FCC corporate box. And I felt that Jess, with her personality, with the edginess of her content, that she would have a hard time fitting into that box without paring herself down. And even though her numbers were huge before, I'm sure her numbers have probably grown since she's been on the Breakfast Club. Take that boost in numbers, girl, and roll out, because I think it's too restrictive for Jess. And I think she's going to end up feeling disrespected, which I could see some gaslighting going on yesterday while she was on the show. But that's what they do in the corporate world. And Jess probably wasn't prepared for it, whereas Lauren was, because you could tell Lauren's got some corporate experience. In the corporate world, there's gaslighting, there's stuff that's unfair, there's games that are played, and then you have to fight back within the rules that they give you, right? So you don't get to just pop off and curse nobody out and snap. They don't like that kind of stuff. And so generally when you do that, you subject yourself to some form of retaliation. Now, I don't know her. I don't know any of them. I've never had Clear Channel as a client. I don't know these people. But this is just your girl looking at it and paying attention. And I think that I know Jess probably doesn't want to break her contract, or maybe she can't. But if she can, or if they fire her, I think she should roll out. I think it's too restrictive, because something's going to happen. She's going to do a movie. She's going to say something on her social media page that is not what they feel like is a good look for the company. And they're going to let her go anyway. So why not go while you're on top if you can? I think Lauren is a better fit. I actually think Claudia would have been a better fit, because Claudia understands that whole corporate game. She could play it. She's more diverse in terms of what may have been needed for the show, while Jess is funnier, extremely hilarious. I spent a lot of time in Maryland, and so everybody in Maryland would be passing around Jess's videos and her social media. I just don't think, I don't think Jess can pare herself down to fit into that box, even if she stops cussing. And I just don't think too restrictive for her. And I'm a big proponent on. Y'all know, for me, it's not personal, it's vibrational. And so when you're in a situation like that, and you're trying to within a set of rules, within a certain corporate boundary, if you will, and that doesn't necessarily go with your personality, it can literally make you. You'll look up and you don't feel good. You'll look up and you'll have headaches. So I think we have to be mindful. I know a lot of times we want the big job, we want the big gig, we want the big money. And sometimes maybe we just get it temporarily, while at the same time, which I think Jess is doing, which is very smart, She's doing her shows. She's doing movies. She's building her brand and continuing to build her brand outside of the Breakfast Club, in which case I think it's smart. So if and probably when they let her go, she'd be fine. And she's going to feel better because now she knows what she don't want. See, sometimes you got to know what you want by experiencing what you don't want. And all that glitters ain't gold. And she built this huge platform for herself. And I'm sure it was monetizing and she was doing well. But you could tell, even in the conversation yesterday, someone sent me a clip that Jess is not up on the whole corporate thing. Lauren, my girl Lauren, is playing the corporate game. She's playing the corporate conversation. I won't even call it a game. She just knows how to manipulate and navigate, if you will, in that corporate setting. And I don't think she came there to take Jess's job. She just came there and played the game. She played it the way it's supposed to be played because she's probably been through it before. She also has college training, and college training is like training for college education is training for that corporate type of thing. So I think it's a lesson in this, even if it is all fake and they just doing it for ratings. I think it's a lesson in all of this for all of us. And I'll tell you what happened to me. I have been consulting. I have been doing auditing. Even when I worked for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the National Center, my duties were very diverse. So I still had the same rush, if you will, as I did in public accounting. And then I went from there back into the consulting world, and I still had the same rush. So it was a lot of traveling, a lot of different companies. Some projects are small where we're rushing to get done. Some are bigger and longer where it's a little more chill. Some problems that we're solving are really hard. Some are controversial, some are not. So one of the clients offered me an opportunity to work for them. I was kind of getting tired of traveling. The money was good. And I took it. And I'm going in and I'm going to the office and going to my desk. And after about probably the fourth week or so, going to the same desk, and I'm looking around like, this is super boring. I'm sick of answering their emails. I'm sick of all these meetings. I'm sick of this same desk, the same room, the same office. And I realized this is not for me. And then I had not had to really play the whole corporate game. The politics inside, there was politics in the consulting world because definitely it's a good old boy network, but the corporate politics, I hadn't had to play. And when I found myself having to play that and trying to figure out what do I say when, even, as a consultant, I'm used to, we go in, we analyze the problem, we figure out what it is, we lay it on the line, we let the client know, and it's up to the client whether or not they want to communicate what we shared with them to their employees or to the public or whatever. But our job was to just come in, tell the truth, give them the data, give them the facts, analyze it, put strategy together, and then roll out. It's not easy, but that was the job. And so some of the other back end politics we didn't have to worry about. But then I started having people say things to me like, I know that this is what you figured out or what you found out, but you just can't say that. You just can't put that in an email. And you can't tell this person, but you got to tell that person. And I'm like, yeah, but it's their department. Yeah, but you don't tell them, blah, 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 blah. And then you got this person sitting in the office next door that's calling you, want to go grab coffee every day, but at the same time, they gathering information and undermining you. And I just was like, you know what? I can't do this one. So it happens. And I just want to say to my girl, Jess, girl, I say roll out. Because that corporate game up there, you don't want to play that. I can't even imagine navigating through the New York traffic and getting up there every day at 4:00 in the morning just to play this corporate game. I'd have been up in there crying too. Not crying because they hurt my feelings, but crying like, I got to get the hell up out of here. I wish she was my client because I would. But anyway, I just wanted to chime in on that. Just a fun conversation. I know it's their real life. And I just thought this is classic in what I deal with when I'm coaching my clients and explaining to them just kind of how to roll and how to navigate. Interesting stuff, right? And you can always tell when somebody's just not used to playing the game or that they don't really quite know the game. And I don't think she needs to know it. I think what's important is for her now to go, you know what? Now I know what I want, because I damn sure got another tick mark in the list of what I don't want. And I'm sure the money's good and it's steady, but girl, roll out if you can. Or if they fire you, don't kick and scream. Go and do your movies. Go and do your comedy show. Go and finish being creative. I'm just saying. That's like them bringing Country Wayne up there, and he's been creative, making all this money, doing all this stuff that he's doing on social media, and then you want him to constrict himself just so that he could be in the corporate thing and do a good job in your eyes. We need our creatives. We need people out here who can think outside the back. That's who I am. I stay in that space of revelation. I stay in that space where I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. Where I got to create something. Where I got to figure out how to make it happen. Figure out how to get some income off the ground. Pouring into a particular investment and then teasing the revenue out of it later. There's some of us who are made for that. And it's okay if you're not, but I think that Jess is made for that. And I think that as she grows and matures and, she'll fix up her language. She'll get there. I think she has the potential to be very creative, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. That's just real talk. All right, y'all. Any questions, any comments that you want me to talk about? Anything in the chat? I thought we'd kind of keep it a little light this morning. I know we really are entrenched in our prayers and our reading for Ramadan. And I just finished up my reading and my notes, and I actually got up at 2:30 today. So I'm gonna be feeling it a little bit a little bit later, but it's okay. It's all right. I was studying about this ancient queen. I can't wait to tell y'all about it. I want to do a show on her. So, okay, I see y'all in the chat. Nubia Latifa, Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Nana Kose Venture says, good day, everyone. Elijah Class says, Ramadan Kareem. Thank you. You are a jewel. Thank you so much, Elijah Class. Any questions from you all before we get out of here? We're going to go a little bit earlier. I have to get ready and get dressed. Anyone? I'm happy to stay on and chat, but we talked about diversified income, understanding how to navigate a corporate setting. And you know what? Here's the other thing. I would even direct this to Jess. Don't get upset because you don't know what you don't know. If you need to learn it, take the time to learn it. But if you don't know it, you just don't know it. And it's okay. And let somebody else who knows it do it. A lot of times with women, this is an interesting conversation, and I've been preparing a talk on this. You know, a lot of us as women have archetypes that we are, or boxes that we're put in as little girls based on how we were raised or how we responded when we were very young, usually somewhere around between the ages of 3 and 5 years old. And then we start to respond to the world based on the way the world sees us. And then that becomes our archetype as we get older. Some of us are victims, and so we're in that victim box. Some of us are princesses, so we're in the princess box. Some of us are queens or gods, so we're in the queen god box. And some of it's negative. Sometimes people teach us at a very young age, and we end up being kind of in the Jezebel box. A lot of it just depends. I know the box that I ended up in for sure is that queen god box. My mother always taught us to be independent. My father, I'll give it to you how long I can't even tell you how many times he said to me, learn how to make it happen. You can make whatever happen you want. You're smart. Just really teaching me and giving me the courage to be a manifester. And so that was the box that I was in. I remember going to a store in Omaha, Nebraska, in the old market with my father. We were going to get my mother a gift, and there was a store she liked in there. And when we got to the store, the woman who owned the store was sitting just kind of like in the back of the store, and she didn't have any customers. When we left out, I asked my father, I said, why she ain't got no customers? And he said, because she built a business where she got to stare at the door in order to get her money. And I was like, really? And he asked me, he said, why don't you figure out and go and think and research and figure out how she could bring more customers in the business or make money. So I was always encouraged to make things happen. And I was taught that a woman should be able to, this is part of the divine feminine that I don't even know if they knew they were hooking me into. Because as women, we are the creators. We are the reproducers. We're the ones who give birth. And so I was constantly taught to recreate, reproduce. One of the last things my father said to me, or the last thing he said to me before he passed, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, one thing I know is that you and Kevin, meaning my brother, y'all gonna be all right, because we know how we raised y'all. And I was like, what do you mean? I was really rejecting a lot of his conversations that was signifying that maybe he was leaving us. And he said, you smart, you intelligent, you've been trained. He said, you're going to be able to be a woman because you know how to be a woman. And he would just always say those things to me. So that was the archetype that I grew up in. That was the box I was put in, and that was the archetype archetype that I was given, like the label, if you will. And so I began to manifest at that. I started reading at 4 years old. I was known for my intellect as a child. I would do work projects that were 2 or 3 grades ahead of where I was. So if I was in the 2nd grade, my mom would bring me home 4th and 5th grade workbooks, and I would be doing that. I was always in the gifted or advanced classes, the combined classes where I might have been a 4th grader, but I'm in the 6th and 7th grade area, all of this kind of stuff. And so that sort of became who I am today. I studied, I would take classes on my own. Nobody would, have to tell me. I didn't really start paying attention to clothes even and how I looked until college. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, my mom would pick out the stuff and dress me because I didn't care about that. I cared about what can I make happen? What can I figure out? And I would look at different businesses and look at things and be like, okay, I could do that. I could figure that out. That was how I lived my life, you know? And so I say that because I want to do a show on those archetypes, because those are the boxes that we put our little girls in very early, very early. And my father would do things and give me things, but it was so that I could be comfortable and be relaxed. It was never like to treat me like a little princess. He didn't treat me like that. It was more like that queen God thing, even down to when I went and got my driver's license. I remember I always had glasses. And my mother was like, well, she gonna go get her license. She can drive. My aunt had an older car. And so my mom was suggesting that I go and drive my aunt's car, who had an older car. And my father was like, she driving a Mercedes. She gonna take pictures in front of this. He didn't want me to be a car booty, for nobody to be able to come up and say to me, you know, I got a nice car and that I'm going for the dude that got the nice car. It was just, that was the training that I had and the archetype that I was placed in. So, and when you meet somebody, if you know their archetype, then you can understand, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not about changing anybody. If you're whatever archetype you were in, as long as it's not a bad archetype, you just got to know who you are and then know what you need to do for yourself in order to push yourself so that you can push past the boundaries and the blockages that you may have in your development. Elijah's class said, I'm struggling to let go of a steady job. I have a good career and want to be independent eventually. I'm in mental health field. So Elijah's class, certainly you have to do what Mr. calls steal away. And what you want to do is you want to develop a plan and I can help you come up with some alternative or some additional income streams. I'm sorry. When you build those other income streams, we can then help you feel a little bit more confident that maybe you can leave. We don't want you to have to leave under duress, like, you know, let go. You probably have a lot of skills, and I'm certainly happy to help you with that. I'm going to put, if you want to book a coaching session, if you book one session, I'll give you another follow-up session for free, and we can put together a plan for you so that you can steal away. Okay, it's going to require some work. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, but I guarantee you, I can literally see it, that you probably have enough within you and what you do that we can pop out some other pipelines and start building those. And when those pipelines get built, you'll be able to make whatever choices you want with ease without stressing. Because when you say I'm struggling to let go, that tells me a lot right there with that language. So I'm happy to support and help once we know more details and things like that. And being in the mental health field, there's probably a lot that you could do. Okay, family, I'm going to go. May Allah bless you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. right here on the Sajdah channel. Make sure you support. I'm asking everybody who's watching to give $25. Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. You can also Zelle it. What that $25 does is it helps us pay for security. It helps with all the things that we got going on. Also, we have sponsorship opportunities available. If you follow me on Instagram at Sajdah House, I'm going to upload the whole video on YouTube in a couple of minutes here as soon as we get off. But we got a new sponsor yesterday, Sister Charlene Muhammad. And she was hilarious when she got her sponsorship gift in the mail. Okay, thank you. Sure, reach out. Yes, walaikum salam. And most people send me videos when they become a sponsor, and they're very buttoned up. But Charlene was hilarious. She had me in stitches. I was literally hollering. But we welcome more sponsors because this is an opportunity for you to have your name in the house in perpetuity, meaning once your name goes on that plaque, it is there. Okay. And it's an opportunity to add your family name, your company name, and to support a good cause. It's important that we own and monetize and tell our own stories. And so we are offering those opportunities. There's so much. If you email me, I think that's going across the bottom of the screen as well. Email me at sajdahhouse@gmail.com. I'll send you a sponsorship opportunity deck. We can set up a Zoom call. We can definitely customize something. The house is a world. And there's so much that happened in the house. I'm sure we can find something that matches with your interests, with your family background. If you got family members that were in the nation or worked in the house and you got archives you want to donate, we can make you a sponsor that way. But we're working. We only got a few things left to do. And so we're trying to raise this funding so that we can get everything done. Stay close. Go to sajdahhouse.com. Join the mailing list because we got a summer program series that we put together, and it's called Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. So I'm so excited about that. I can't wait to roll that out to you. Our Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. So we've been working and meeting. We got some good things lined up. We've been actually working on this since the fall. And we're going to also be adding some information to each of those events so that you know how important arts, culture, and civilization is to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and why we're folding that in, because we have some direct teachings and instructions from him that align with what we're going to be presenting with you this summer, these 4 or 5 events. So we're talking about high level, upscale, next level events. If you want to kind of socialize on a higher level, then this is going to be the place to do it. You want to learn and socialize. We got a lot happening. And so I am so excited, and I'm not going to spill too much of the beans, but we got the Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. We got the Mind of an Entrepreneur series, which is aligned with the economic development and the accomplishments of the Muslims. You don't want to miss that either. So just stay close. All right. And if you do need coaching, training, go to book SajdahWendyMuhammad.com. Use the Cash App right now, $25, Sajdah Enterprises. And we really, really appreciate you. Okay, family. Love you all. Wishing you more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. And I want you to remember, it's not personal. It's vibrational. We'll see you tomorrow morning, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak.